Everybody. Welcome back to the Sporting Blizzard podcast. And I know it's been a couple weeks since we've been on. My dad's not joining us today. He's down in Florida, Christmas vacation, all that. We haven't been able to really cement a time for both of us to be good for recording the past couple weeks. But I'm coming back to you here today, and we'll be back. He'll be back here next week as we're going to talk about a game, which I'll get into later. But NFC North today, I want to talk about this to start out. First up, I got to talk about the Vikings. They're the current number 2 seed in the NFC. And why do I think they are in one of the weakest top seeds in all of the NFL? 11-0 in one possession games. Now, that's great. You can hold on to the games. But you kind of need to be able to blow some teams out. You need to not have to play in one possession games every single week. And they don't. When they lose, it's pretty bad. I think I saw something that they're like a couple points away or something. They get beaten by like 10 points or something this upcoming week. They'd have a negative score differential. They have 12 wins. I don't know how that's possible. And you look at them, they finished their season out against the Packers and against the Bears. I think they'll win one of those games pretty handily. The other, we're going to have to talk about. Then you look at the Packers, who are storming back. They're trying to get in that playoffs. They need every single thing to go right. They have Christian Watson, who is now hurt. That's why I'm not going to buy into the Packers yet. I think their offense needs that number 1 receiver with Rodgers. I think LaFleur's offense needs it. And they just don't have it right now with Watson being out. It could be long-term. It could be short-term. I didn't see if he was put on IR or not, but time will tell. Now, why do I think the Packers are not going to be in the best spot to go on this run? Well, they play the Vikings and the Lions. I think they lose both of those games. I think the Vikings will beat them just because the Packers don't really do with what you need to do to beat the Vikings. They don't have the defense capabilities to stop Justin Jefferson is what I mean. Their offense is going to put up points. This is going to be another one-possession game for the Vikings, and it's going to be like they're 12-0, or maybe they'll be 11-1. But this Packers team, they need every single thing to go right. They need every single break to go their way. And if it doesn't happen, they're not good enough to win. Do I think LaFleur is a bad coach? No, I've seen a lot of this come out that he is in over his head. He does not have Rodgers bailing him out. Okay, the team has kind of had some injury issues. The defense has not been good. And Rodgers hasn't been Aaron Rodgers-like. And you can say, well, that's because he lost to No, Aaron Rodgers is getting older. He's taken a lot of abuse on his body. When you have suffered as many injuries as Rodgers has, your body just, it breaks. It happened with Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger, before his elbow injury, was still an elite quarterback. He threw for 5,000 yards the season before, but he fell off because his body broke. I don't think Rodgers is off that steep cliff yet. I think we're getting close to it, and I think the Packers know this. I don't think Rodgers returns for 2023. I think this is his final year. I think he's done. I think he knows it, and I think he's going to listen to his body. With how naturopathic Rodgers is, I think he would know better than a lot of people to listen to your body and just hand up before you suffer any more serious injuries in your life. And the last team to talk about is the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions were rolling, but they got beat up badly by the Panthers, and I'm going to talk about them here in a bit. But the Panthers have the best way to beat up on the Lions. Ike Ekwonu and Foreman. They ran the ball down the Lions' throat. You know who's not going to do that? The Packers are not going to do that. For whatever reason, they will not run Aaron Jones down your throat. It's infuriating, and I don't get it. And that's the one game the Packers really cannot afford to lose. And they need to win out. The Packers 100% need to win out. You lose to the Lions, you're done. And that's why I don't buy the Packers right now, because I think the Lions are a better team than them. Are they a better coach? I don't know. But I do think when you compare the Lions and Packers, I think the Lions players are more bought in Dan Campbell than Packers players are bought into Matt LaFleur right now. Could be a number of things. We don't know. But it just kind of has this feeling of the Packers were so great last year, they were hard to beat. Rodgers struggles against the 49ers in the NFC divisional round. They come to the year. They play pretty good to start out, and then they just kind of snowball effect. Now they're getting steam. They're getting going. They're ready to go on a run. But their talent just isn't what you'd expect. I don't know how to put it exactly. And you can argue, hey, they lost to Darius Smith in the offseason. Maybe that's why the Packers are struggling. They didn't have Darius Smith last year. So I don't get why their defense has taken such a massive downgrade. But I do know Lions are taking steps forward. 300 yards on the ground, giving up, yeah, that's bad. But were the Lions supposed to be a playoff team? I know I made a video on them saying I think they're a dark horse playoff team. I think they can contend for the playoffs. But I said it's a 6th or 7th seed. I didn't say they'd be a 5th seed or win the division. No. The Lions are in year 2 of this rebuild, of a tear-it-down rebuild. They've bought on their coach, and Brad Holmes has done a very good job drafting his team. So let's say the Lions split their next 2 games. They lose, I can't remember the play off the top of my head right this upcoming week, but they lose this week and they beat the Packers. Aren't Lions fans happy? You're 8-9. You swept the Green Bay Packers. You maybe just sent Aaron Rodgers into retirement. Like, that's something you can put on your mantle for how many years he's tormented you. It's just, the Lions are right now where they should be. They should be on the verge of playoff contention, but not in it yet. If they make it in it, odds are they probably lose. They'll probably play either the Vikings, who they beat. I can see them beating the Vikings. But more likely, in my opinion, I think they'd play the 49ers. I don't like them in that game, to say the least. With how they gave up the rushing yards to Carolina, I think a Kyle Shanahan rushing attack would really expose them. But we can look at it like this. The Lions are on their way up, Packers on their way down, and who knows where the Vikings are headed. Now, I want to talk about the Tennessee Titans. The Titans, there's stuff going on in. This is recorded on Thursday before the game against Cowboys. This is going up Friday. I have no knowledge of what's going to happen in the game tonight. Just what I think is going to happen. From what I've found out today, Josh Dobbs is a starter. I'm a Steelers fan. I saw him play football. I'm a Gators fan. I saw him play football in college. This is not good. Derrick Henry's out. Not good. Ryan Tannehill just placed on IR. Bud Dupree placed on IR. Zach Cunningham just placed on IR. This team's just broken. They have a lot of injuries, but I'd also argue their coaching has been the best this year. And I'm not really shooting at Mike Vrabel or defense. I think both those guys have done a good job. The D coordinator has done a very good job with the injuries they've suffered. And they're without Jeffrey Simmons against Cowboys, who I think Jeffrey Simmons is one of the most underrated defensive players in the NFL. Maybe just one of the most underrated players in the NFL, period. But you look at the Titans. What do they have? Well, they got Ryan Tannehill, who's now out for the year. You don't really know where his future holds. He's had injury issues in the past. Maybe they're creeping back up. Got Malik Willis, a developmental quarterback who you've had to play way too much than you should have. And now you're playing Josh Dobbs because you don't want to expose Malik Willis. You don't want to get his confidence shattered. This is where the Titans are. They arguably ruined Malik Willis, but he was a developmental guy, so we don't know if this would be him in general or not. Their old line is bad. Derrick Henry's out, and he's approaching the end of his career. 30, once you hit 30, running backs tend to have a lot more injury issues, especially for guys of Henry's size who just, their legs aren't going to hold up as much. Their old line's bad, probably the worst in the NFL. You got Burks, who you drafted really high, who I'm still a big fan of, but has struggled mightily with injuries this year. You got no one really else at receiver. This team is headed to the basement. And maybe they won't be a complete bottom-out team. Like, I'm just giving this example, my Steelers, because the head coach is good and the defensive coaching is good. That might be the only reason they're not going to bottom out. But man, it's not looking good for these Titans. If I told you next year they're a top 10 team picking, would you be surprised? If I told you maybe one really, really bad year, 1 year of a lot of pain, would set the Titans up great. They could get a Caleb Williams. They could get a Drake May. They could invest in the quarterback position and get that going. They have a nice rookie running back in Hassan Haskins that they got from the draft this past year. He's obviously not probably going to be Derrick Henry, but he's still good. So what do the Titans need to do? Well, we need to address the offensive line. Offense line's a big issue. This Titans team needs to get the ball running. They need to be a rushing first team. It's hard to run the football when your offense line is as bad as it is. Now, you also need receivers. I don't know how much Cal State's Titans have off the top of my head. I'm actually going to check that while I'm talking here. But they need to address the receiving core. They need to get some guys in. They need to get a tight end in. They need to get a lot of guys in just to overhaul this offense. And last but not least, they need to get a new offense coordinator. Todd Downing is the worst OC in the league. I don't think it's debatable. When you watch the Titans and you watch everyone else, he doesn't structure a game plan. It's just throwing random stuff out there, seeing what happens. I didn't notice it until the Broncos game. The Broncos game, I was really confused. Then they played the Packers, and I'm like, well, it was better then. And since then, I've been watching, and I'm cutting him the brakes when Malik Willis plays, because I don't think Malik Willis is ready to be an NFL starting quarterback. But just watching how they play football, how he calls plays, how they structure the game plan, it's just not NFL OC. He feels like he belongs in college football. Now, maybe the Titans think, oh, hey, he can get there. He can get there. He's just learning. I understand that. But this is a team that was the 1 seed last year. They need to get better. And after some research, the Titans are actually $17 million over the cap. It's just not looking good for them. And the one guy that comes off the top of my head that you can cut would probably be Bud Dupree. I believe that would free up some money. So looking at it, okay, you cut Bud Dupree next year, but pre-June 1, you can free up $10 million. Taylor Lewan would free up $14 million. I think that's a consideration. Robert Woods would free up $12 million. Like, there are going to be some new Titans next year. Zach Cunningham would free up $9 million. I don't say you cut many defensive guys, but I think Bud Dupree and Taylor Lewan need to be on the way out the door. These are two guys that just... Bud, since leaving TJ Watt, and this was my fear as a Steeler fan, wanting Bud Dupree to succeed. I have all but love for Bud Dupree. I loved watching him wearing 48 for the Steelers. I wanted to go down to Tennessee and just wreck shop. I was happy he got paid the money. My fear was he didn't really do anything until he had TJ. Now, looking back, that may not have been coincidence. Now, let's look at Taylor Lewan. He's had a lot of injuries down the stretch. He is getting older. He is an older player. Do you get rid of arguably one of the most stable parts of your organization for years? 2023 is the last year on his contract. Do you let him play it out? Or do you cut ties a year early and just feel like, we're sorry, man, but we need to do this? Because he's not had a great year. He's had a fine year. He's just not the player he once was. He's not a $14 million player, in my opinion, almost $15 million. So what direction do you go with Taylor Lewan? That's the main question the Titans need to ask, because you get rid of him, you're kind of signaling, hey, we need to get a new guard in. If you keep him, there's going to be a lot more cap shenanigans you're going to have to undertake to fix this team. Now, I want to talk about maybe my favorite story of the year. The Carolina Panthers. Now you're probably asking, the Carolina Panthers, how are they your favorite story of the year? Well, they sucked. It's not a stretch. They sucked with Matt Rule. I'm a Matt Rule fan. I think he's a good college head coach. He clearly is not a good NFL head coach. But the Panthers, I just love the story because I love what Steve Wilkes has done. He's a hometown boy. He grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. He has been with the Panthers organization for years. And he got treated poorly in Arizona. Bruce Arians said they should hire him as their head coach. They did. They had one bad year and it was out the door. Bring Cliff Kingsbury. How's that turned out for you, Arizona? One winning season, and down the stretch in that winning season, you looked god-awful. Cliff Kingsbury teams, down the stretch, have just not played good. Panthers down the stretch have played very good football. Like, I don't know if it's because, hey, they're just happy Matt Rule's out there, or Steve Wilkes is just like, hey, we can do this, that he's just revitalized this room. But he's got to be the number one choice to be the head coach of the Panthers next year. And I know we live in an era where they need a rookie quarterback. I'm a big Sam Darnold fan. They need a rookie quarterback. That you want to bring in the offensive genius that can just do every little thing to make the quarterback's life easy. I don't think you need that. Josh Allen was developed under a defensive head coach. Why was he developed? The defensive head coach hired a great offensive mind as the offense coordinator in Brian Daboll. I look at this Panthers team as I did under Sean McDermott's first year in Buffalo. They made the playoffs. Tyrod Taylor and Nathan Peterman, they were finding ways to win. But they needed that quarterback. So what they do? Well, they trade up. They got Josh Allen. Pretty good quarterback to stay in the long term. Now, what do the Panthers need to do? Well, they need to trade him and get their guy. I know a lot of people are touting Will Levis as this guy. I know Mel Kiper has him as his number one rated quarterback. I disagree, to say the least. We'll get into that come the draft period, but I'm not a Will Levis guy. I think he's a fine player. I have no idea how he is as a person, but I don't believe he's a franchise guy. The guy I think Carolina should go after is CJ Stroud. And I know there's going to be a lot of talk for Anthony Richardson. I'm a Gator fan. Trust me, I love AR. I don't know if AR is ready to be an NFL quarterback. And the thing with this Panthers team is they can win. This defense is amazing. This offense line with drafting Ikem Ekwonu, who I'm going to get into in a second, has taken a massive leap forward. Foreman, Hubbard, great backfield. This team is missing a quarterback. That's it. This team gets a quarterback. You look at the Bucs, they're probably not bringing Tom Brady back. They have had a lot of injury issues, yes, but they're also a bit of an older team. Who are you taking the next 5 years if they get a quarterback? Now let's say Bucs get Derek Carr and the Panthers get CJ Stroud. Next 5 years. Well, maybe year one you give to the Bucs. You got a rookie quarterback. What about 2 through 5? I'm taking the Panthers those years. And I do think CJ Stroud is a developmental guy still at the end of the day because there's stuff he's going to have to work at his game from playing from Ohio State. At Ohio State, the offensive line's so great, you can hold on the ball for as long as you want. And we're going to really find out because this Saturday, CJ Stroud plays Georgia. If he carves up Georgia, every NFL GM's eyebrow is going to raise up, be like, this is a guy. This is a dude we want to build our team around. If he struggles, well, we're going to see the issues down in his game. My prediction is Georgia beats up on them a bit. But I do think CJ Stroud is talented enough that he can develop into a franchise quarterback guy. Now, let's go back to why the Panthers are so successful. They're running the ball. And I'm not someone that pounds my fist on the table like, this guy should win this award, this guy should win this award. It's a media-driven award. I know they're not going to win it if, like, a guy's getting disrespected. It's because he's not flashy for the media to vote on and talk about. Like, if you ask me right now, who do I think is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Brock Purdy. Does Brock Purdy deserve it? Probably with how he's playing. But why is he going to win it? Because he's a story the media can run with. He was Mr. Irrelevant. He has come in and taken this 49ers offense to a new level. Now, who's the most deserving of Rookie of the Year? Ikem Ekwonu. And he ain't ever going to win it because he's an offensive lineman. But watch the left side of the Panthers. The only game I've seen Ikem Ekwonu actually struggle in was against Alex Highsmith and the Steelers. Outside of that, he is amazing downhill blocker. He's going to get his hands on you, and he's shoving you in the ground. He is the best player on the Panthers team. I love Brian Burns. I love J.C. Horn. I love Jeremy Chin. He's the best player. And it's the whole argument I had with the Panthers leading up to the draft was, you need to draft offense line. You need it. You need it. You need it. Because Darnold, guess what? He's been a fine quarterback with a clean pocket. With Ikem Ekwonu, now not only do you have a clean pocket, you got a hole a bus can drive through with him blocking. And it's awesome to watch. And he's not going to get Offensive Rookie of the Year, like I said. He's an offense lineman. But man, I implore everyone who listens to this, watch the Panthers versus the Bucs. Watch it. Watch Ikem Ekwonu. He's their left tackle. He will be the most fun player you watch. I don't know if Vita Vea is playing this upcoming week, but if he is, and I know they won't because he's an inside player, but man, I want to see Vita Vea and Ikem Ekwonu lock up. Because I think it'd be like one of those anime fights when the guys lock up and just the ground around them just breaks apart and it just keeps on going as they're just locking hands. That's what I think would happen if those two monsters, behemoths, just went at it. But now that we're done with the Panthers, let's talk about something more depressing. The Denver Broncos. Giving you guys a little second there to get in the right mindset. Denver Broncos fired their head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. A guy I wasn't a big fan of. My best friend, who's a Broncos fan, when they hired him, he asked me, is this a good hire? I said no. And the reason I said no is he just reminds me of Joe Philbin. And that's probably something like people haven't heard of that name in a while. Like Joe Philbin, wow. Now, you're asking me, why does he remind me of Joe Philbin? Well, he's an Aaron Rodgers product. That's pretty much it. And it's not fair to say, oh, wow, Aaron Rodgers product. Real original. Well, it's the truth. He was hired as his offense guru because he got Aaron Rodgers to win 2 MVPs. And you say, oh, Rodgers is struggling this year. He's struggling. Yeah. He's also older. He's a year older. Father Time works mysteriously. I wouldn't say it's coming after Brady, but it's affecting Brady more this year than it ever has. Probably due to his offensive line. Rodgers is just... he's still good, but he's not great. Russell Wilson, and this is another guy you can argue Father Time, he was once great. He struggled a bit last year. Last 2 games of the season was amazing. And now has been beyond awful to the point he just tied the amount of touchdowns to bathrooms he has in his household on Christmas Day. In a game they were blown out 51-14 to the 4-10 Rams at the time. Like, the Broncos are a train wreck. And you can be like, well, they were a quarterback away. Well, were they really? Or, hear me out, were they the right coach away? Were they the right offensive guy away? What were they away? Because they were playing better under Vic Fangio. A guy that came out that Broncos players hated. They were playing better for Vic Fangio than they were Nathaniel Hackett. So what was the whole hiring point? Why did they hire him? Why did they fire him? Why did they bring in Russell Wilson? Well, let's all go back to this offseason. Why did the Broncos hire Nathaniel Hackett? Well, they wanted Aaron Rodgers. They wanted Rodgers. They wanted to away Rodgers. Russell Wilson was plan B. In theory, you told me he was plan B. I would say that's a better plan than Rodgers at the offseason. I would have told you that straight up. For one, Russ seems like a more likable guy than Rodgers. And that's not me saying anything about the two. I see what Russ does. I think Russ would be a bit like... He's more of a positive reinforcement guy. Rodgers is going to shoot you straight. He's going to be like, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. Russ is going to like pat you on the shoulder and try to help you. The problem is, when Rodgers shoots you straight on bad teams, you may get frustrated, but you know he's right. When you're bad, it's just positive reinforcement, positive reinforcement. It doesn't annoy you. It angers you. It frustrates you. You want to get away from that guy. And that's what I think we're at with the Broncos. They're bad. They're struggling. And Russell's not playing good, but he's just constantly just being a good guy. Just constantly like, hey, you can do this. Hey, I got faith in you. I got faith in you. And maybe if it was just you struggling, you'd be like, okay, I got it. But when the whole team's struggling, and he's part of it, it's just... shut up. That's pretty much what they're all saying. And I do think Wilson's still a talented guy. But we need to do some stuff to help him. And I'm going to give my credit to my father here. I had to hear about this for years. He's been wanting to trade Russell Wilson since they won the Super Bowl, and I'm not joking. He, at one point, wanted to trade Russell Wilson to the Raiders for Derek Carr and Khalil Mack. He can confirm this next week. If he's listening to this right now, he's probably got a smile on his face ear to ear. But he has been telling me Russell Wilson's a coach killer. I don't know if that's fair, but there's one thing he is right. Russell Wilson's stubborn. He's too stubborn for his own good, because he still has a good arm. He can still make reads. You're telling me a Hall of Fame level quarterback for most of his career can't make a simple read? I call BS on that. Big Ben at the end of his time could still make the reads. Peyton Manning at his time can still make the reads. Tom Brady can still make the reads. Aaron Rodgers can still make the reads. Now, can Wilson read the entire field? Well, no, he's shorter. That's an issue on itself, but so is Drew Brees. Drew Brees, shorter guy. Couldn't read the middle of the field that well. Drew Brees was still a pretty decent quarterback. His arm wasn't what it once was. That's fair. He could still hit his guys. He still knew where they had to be. So, is it to the point that Wilson's being too stubborn to adjust? I think that's the case. Or do you need to get the right offense for Wilson? My question is, what offense is that? Because the best offense for Wilson would be getting him out of the pocket. But here's the problem. He's an older quarterback. He is past 30. I believe he's in his mid to late 30s right now. That's telling that, maybe his body just can't do it. He's 34. He just turned 34 in November. So, where are we at with this? Well, the Broncos can't get out of his contract till 2025. So we're stuck for him for a couple more years. What coach do we hire? I said Pete Carmichael in my Broncos video, but I don't even know if that would work at this point. With Wilson, you need to get him out of his own way. You need to say, dude, if you want to succeed, if you don't want to be known as this guy that Pete Carroll got good, because that's where he's going to be right now if he doesn't improve, you need to adjust. You need to evolve. You need to evolve your game plan. Tom Brady's evolved as his career's gone on. Peyton Manning evolved as his career went on. Aaron Rodgers has evolved. Ben Roethlisberger evolved. Drew Brees evolved. Pat Mahomes is going to evolve. Josh Allen's going to evolve. All of the greats evolve their game. If Wilson doesn't evolve, it's like evolution will pass you by. And it sucks for Broncos fans. It does. Because their team had some potential. And it's just all gone. It's like, last year at this time, there was hope that you bring in the savior quarterback position. This team can go to the playoffs. This team can go on a Super Bowl run. Now it's, we don't have our first pick that's currently third overall. We have the 49ers pick. That's not going to be a great pick. And what do? Like, everyone's saying, oh, Sean Payton. Well, you're going to have to give up your first round pick to get Sean Payton. You're probably going to have to give up other picks. The Broncos don't have those picks to give up. Nor can they afford to. They have a lot of holes in this team. Their whole line has decreased. Their receivers aren't as good as we thought. And you need depth at running back. And I'd argue, you need to get another quarterback in. But he needs to be cheap. He needs to be not expensive. Here's the problem. Who are you going to go get? Zach Wilson? Like, there are so many problems for this Broncos team, and we don't have the answers for. And I'm going to make a comparison to basketball. I'm a Los Angeles Lakers fan. I grew up loving the Kobe Bryant era. Kobe and Pau Gasol. Those were my guys. But Kobe aged. They sucked. They got rid of Pau, which sucked for me because I was a big fan of him. But as time went on, they were just the bottom. And every draft lottery, I was hoping, do they keep their first round pick? 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 That's what kept on going through my head. Because they were trapped under bad contracts, like Timothy Mozgov, for example, or Luol Deng. They had bad contracts. Nick Young didn't have the best contract either. But they were trapped under these contracts, and I was hoping they could keep their first round pick. And they did. They didn't develop because they kept on trying new stuff. D'Angelo Russell, let's draft Lonzo Ball. Let's get rid of Russell. Oh, Russell's in the All-Star game now. We missed on that. It's like, what point do we figure out what guys we're going to keep and what guys we're going to get rid of? And, hey, they did win a title. They won a title with LeBron. Guess what? You get the best player in the sport when he still has legs, when he still isn't getting injured, and you can bring in a solid 2, and when that solid 2 is healthy, he can be a great elite 2. You can win a title. But they need every break to hit their way. Without COVID, the Lakers don't win another championship, and that sucks to say as a Lakers fan. But it helped the Lakers win because you look at them now, they're struggling to stay healthy. What happened if there's no break in the season? They had to continue playing. Their bodies would have worn down. And I know I just want a little Lakers tangent, but that's where we're currently looking at the Broncos. They're trapped under bad contract. They currently don't have their pick. They have to cheer for someone else to be bad to get a higher pick. And you want to trade that to get a coach. When you have holes in your roster that you're not addressing because you think you're a coach away. This team's not a coach away, or else they would be better than their offense is. Their defense is great. Guess what? You're going to have to sign your guys to contracts. You're probably going to be losing your defensive coordinator. Like Sean Payton. See the guy who he wants to bring as a D coordinator, Vic Fangio. Do you think he's going back to Denver? No. And I believe Everdo, I hope I'm not mispronouncing that name. If I am, someone correct me in the comment section. He turned down the interim head coaching job because he wanted to be loyal to Nathaniel Hackett. That tells me he's out the door. And with how they've played this year, teams are going to be calling him. They're going to be like, hey, you want to be our defense coordinator? Like, I don't know who would be the guy to call, but I'm just going to use Ben Johnson's example because I really like him as OC, and I think he needs to hire a defense coordinator. Let's say he gets the Colts job. Well, I like Gus Bradley, what he's doing. But this guy, he had an elite defense with an offense that gave him zero help. This Broncos defense has been awesome. The Rams were the first game they looked bad. He's going to be a sought-after guy. And they're going to have to find the head coach that's willing to keep him. But what if he wants to bring his own guy? Or what if you hire a defensive-minded coach and like DeMeco Ryans like, hey, I want to run a 4-3. I don't want to run 3-4. He's out the door. So this entire thing that we're talking about with the Broncos being just a coach away, it's not true. They're many pieces away. Their offensive line away. Their receivers away. The worst part is, they're a quarterback away, and they just gave up 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to get. This team is in a worse spot than they were last year. They're in a worse spot they were when Peyton Manning retired. They're in a worse spot they were when Trevor Siemian was quarterback. They're in a worse spot they were when they had Paxton Lynch as their starting quarterback. They're just in a bad spot, and they're going to have to suffer till 2025 if Russ doesn't turn it around. If Russell Wilson turns it around, guess what? Your team's going to be better. But this is not a Super Bowl winning team if Russell Wilson does not turn around. This is not a playoff containing team if Russell Wilson does not turn around. We're currently entering a dark age in Denver sports with them. And thankfully they have the Avalanche and they have the Nuggets to be very good because it's going to suck to be a Broncos fan for a good while. Now, before I want to talk about the last subject, I want to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. And the reason I want to talk about it is I made a video calling Miami Dolphins fool's gold. And I didn't give Tua the credit for the losses when he was out. I didn't blame the Dolphins for losing those games. Now, the games Tua has lost recently, he's not been playing the best. His best game was against the Bills. They lost. 49ers, he struggled. Chargers, he struggled. Packers, he struggled. And I'll give you a little, give me with the Packers game, because he had a concussion. We don't know when he suffered the concussion. We don't know if it was affecting him. But it wasn't pretty. And now we're looking at the next, he's out this week against Patriots, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he'll be playing against the Jets because this is his 3rd concussion he suffered this year. And we saw how brutal the first 2 were. So I'm going to ask you this. Where does Tua go? And I don't want to pitch this as where do the Miami Dolphins go? Where does Tua go? Because head injuries they're bad. You can heal from a leg injury. You can heal from a shoulder injury. The only thing that's equivalent to a head injury is a neck or back injury. You can heal from broken bones. You can heal from torn muscles. You can't heal your brain. And I don't want to see a guy's career end like this, but it's something that could arguably be discussed that maybe it's best he hangs it up. And I hope he doesn't have to. I hope he doesn't, because I grew up like him. I grew up wanting to be a quarterback in the NFL. He got to achieve his dream. I didn't. But to see your dream taken away from you like that, it's brutal. And I'm not here to rag on Tua. I'm not here to say, oh, you got to get rid of him if you're Miami. No. Now, is there concerns about his injury issues if you're the Dolphins? Absolutely. But right now, the concern should be for Tua's health. And can Tua return safely to football? Does he have to change his helmet? What does he have to do? Do the Dolphins' medical staff need to be looked at again? We don't know, but I hope the answers are found out for Tua's sake, his family's sake, and his future. And now, let's go to the last topic of the day, and this is what I really want to talk about, the top seed in the AFC. Because, oh boy, there are 3 teams. And they're all 3 good, and they all 3 get me excited for the playoff push. The Bills currently have the 1 seed, the Chiefs have the 2 seed, and the Bengals have the 3 seed. And why am I so excited? Because any of those teams can go on a Super Bowl run, and I get to watch them play against the NFC, and I'm going to tell you this, I'm taking any of those 3 teams to beat the NFC. Joe Burrow he's great, and it sucks being a Steelers fan seeing Joe Burrow great, but I can't cheer against him. He is so likable that me being a Steelers fan, I can't be like, boo the Bengals. I'm like, go Burrow, you're fun, you're awesome, I like you. Why do I like you? I don't like this. Now I know how Bears, Lions, and Vikings fans felt for years watching Rodgers. Now Ravens, Browns, and Bengals fans, wow, I don't know how I messed that up, felt about watching Big Ben. It's like, he's fun to watch. But man, why does he have to be in my stupid division? And it's awesome. Like, Burrow is awesome. He's awesome to watch. Josh Allen he's my favorite quarterback to watch. And I think Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Josh Allen's my favorite because he has his great moments where he's just having fun. He's throwing the ball downfield, and then he has his just whatever plays, and those are awesome. I remember tweeting out during his rookie year, I don't know if Josh Allen will be a good quarterback. I don't know if he'll be an average quarterback. I don't know if he'll be a bad quarterback, but he's going to be a fun quarterback to watch. And I want to say they played the Panthers or something that day. Maybe it was the Dolphins, actually. But I was watching that game, I was just like, this dude's awesome. And behold, he is awesome. And you got Pat Mahomes, who is the best out of those 3. And I, for some reason, had the least faith in that team going to the Super Bowl out of those 3 teams. How? I don't know. Maybe it's because they played close against the Texans, because they have so many mistakes. Or I don't really have faith in their defense, but, like, the AFC's so loaded at the top. Like, this is what I look at when I said, Steelers should just bottom out for a couple years, because they're not going to compete with Allen, Mahomes, or Burrow. Not until those contracts get really in, and they're going to struggle to get some players in. They're going to have some issues. They're going to lose some players. Because right now, you ain't competing with them. Like, I know Ravens fans are saying, well, Lamar can be there. No, Lamar ain't there. Lamar ain't there. Just drop it. Same thing I argue with the Dolphins. They're not there. The Chargers, maybe they're the closest team to those big 3 with Justin Herbert, but their offense coordinator just hasn't given Herbert the ability to be as great as those 3. They're reverting back to his Oregon days. And I look at those big 3. It just gets me excited for the playoffs, and this is why I wanted to end with this, is next week when my dad returns and we're talking about a game reviewing, it was obviously going to be Bills-Bengals Monday Night Football, and I'm going to have to do my best because I will be traveling down to Vegas Monday, and I will be going to my hotel room Tuesday night, hopefully. I will find a way to watch that. I don't care if I'm missing out on a big, expensive dinner. I don't care if I'm missing out on something great, like, oh, it's a great show going on. I don't care how great the show is. I don't care how great the dinner is. You can feed me cardboard, and I'd be happy watching Josh Allen and Joe Burrow play football. Those 2 are 2 of the best in their craft. I'd argue those 3 are the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And we're going to see them go at it head-to-head for years to come, as long as the Bengals can pay Joe Burrow, which I wouldn't be the saddest if Burrow leaves Cincinnati, but I don't think it'll happen. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's what the playoffs are for. See the best of the best go head-to-head to determine who is the true best team in football. And that's going to wrap us up for today. Tomorrow there's going to be a Jets video coming out, as this is being released Friday. Jets video coming out Saturday, Christmas Eve. And the following week there'll be a Trevor Lawrence Jaguars video coming out. Well, probably Wednesday. I'm hoping that gets out. Maybe I'd set up for Thursday. But either way, next Friday or Thursday, you can expect another podcast to drop. But for now, have a Happy New Year, everyone, and be safe.